over the last 1 year, what are some of the interesting surprises? What surprised you as a people leader when you have gone through this shutdown and coming back up, about the workforce, about the process? Like, walk us through some of the learning or some of the surprises that you've encountered.
Yeah, I would say I don't know if anything fully surprised me, but what I will say is that we talk a lot about agility, and agility comes in a lot of different forms. You can have agility with your skills, you can have agility with your temperament, you can have emotional agility, all sorts of different kinds of agility. But in this particular case, the agility that I'm referencing is really about our ability to adapt to unusual circumstances. And I actually think it was faster and cleaner and really better than I could ever have hoped had you told me 6 months before that this was going to happen. I go, oh dear, right? This is going to be hard. This is going to be really hard. And actually, people adapted remarkably quickly. And so, I want to say that the quality of talent that we have at NASA is one of the hallmarks of our agency. I mean, we really have talent at our agency. So talented people generally find a way, and so in that way, it shouldn't be surprising. But because we also are an agency that has practices and habits that are of long standing, and this was disrupting those practices and habits, I think I was surprised at the fact that though they didn't really have much of a choice, for example, to adapt to teleworking would be an example of that, or to adapt to the sort of how it is that we were prioritizing the mission work. I think that we really got them there quickly, and that is a testament to the leadership of the agency and how much energy and personal effort they put into helping everyone get there. So that was a surprise. But in the end, change is still hard. And one of the things that we hear a lot is that there's a lot of burnout, and it is just living in a turbulent times takes its toll after a while. So that is, again, not a surprise, but it's something that I think actually hearing that took a little longer than I might have thought. I think we were all systems go for a very long time, but I think we're finally a year and a half in. Who knew, right? And we don't know how much longer it will be either. That sort of the change fatigue, just general fatigue is there. So
Interesting. And so one other thing that when we talk to HR leaders about their journey over last 1 year, 1.5 year leading their organization, I think burnout came a lot more often, right? So I think one thing
yeah,
that came out was, uh, so when we talk about collaboration, we always thought about performance as a means to, like, collaboration leads to performance. So that's why we care. But right now, what we are looking for is collaboration when it comes to, or at least connection when it comes to burnout. You're not alone, right? So
yes,
like, connecting people together, so at least they can share their pains, they can share their
right,
social and those aspects, and that became sort of, it became like a health thing now,
yes.
in many aspects. And NASA is like multiplying them over, right? So how do you sort of ensure that, like, what has been your learning when it comes to, you talk about burnout and you talk about sort of this stressful situation, and these guys, again, very high performing individuals, are not now stuck, like, told to not perform, right? That's another battle in itself. So how do you cope up with those sort of building scenarios?
So I think that some of it is that some of helping people comes down to a willingness to not be the A+ student in everything that we do, especially when we can't be. And that's really
Mm,
hard because our
mm,
people want A+s on
right.
absolutely everything. So a lot of it comes down to the prioritization and a sense of loss or delay that comes with that, and having that be okay. I listened to a webinar recently that Gartner put on, and it was they talked about some of the, if you look underneath the surface, there are some people who thrive and some people who are burnt out and overwhelmed, and what's the difference. And I think some of the things that I picked up that really resonated with me from that were those who thrive feel that they have an ability to modulate the work that they're doing, so they have
Mm,
some control. So if there's too much friction in the work, right, then that can actually really interfere with your ability to stay whole in a time of great stress. Another one is being able to really negotiate workload and with each other. And this is true even of support organizations, not just mission organizations, but really being willing to say, it's not so much about, did I get something done by the deadline? Although deadlines matter in some cases. It's not like, changing a mission date or launch date is an easy thing to do.
mm,
So I'm not trying to come across as being uncaring about that. But where we have wiggle room, it's less about the date that I told you I was going to give you something, and it's more about connecting and saying, here's where I am, here's what I'm doing. I can't get the right people in the room to make decisions quite yet. I'm going to give it to you at this time, not this time. And sometimes simple negotiation like that can make an enormous difference. If you think about it as someone who receives services, it may not be that the service is done the date that you gave them, but if the service is done and done well, and you feel like they're paying attention to your needs and they are responding, then that's part of the caretaking and giving people the permission in some
mm,
cases to go have those conversations. So reduce friction, negotiate, and then take time for some self-care, right? So we did a couple of things at the agency wide. We instituted what we called Quiet Fridays,
mm,
which I don't know has been 100% successful. But I think it has helped some. And the idea behind the Quiet Fridays is it's a day in a work week, every other week, where you don't have standing meetings. And that's the time where you can catch up with all the things you haven't done, read something, write something, do work that isn't in the flurry of, in between meetings, responding to emails. We've also encouraged people to be willing to change the hours that they work as long as we can get them if we really need them. So go take a walk in the middle of the day. Go to to help your kid if they're doing something. There was a period of time when schools and daycares were closed.
mm,
And I have to say that was really, really, really hard on caregivers. Now, to give the federal government its due, they approved excused leave, paid leave for caregiving, and we allowed that. Not all agencies did. We did allow for
mm,
that, so you could charge up to a certain number of hours in a pay period, so that you could go look after your kids or your elderly parents, or things where the normal support structures in the community weren't available to you anymore. So we clearly took advantage of everything that we could to help people along. But I think, a lot now we're in a situation where in the main, these things are back open again. So now it's more what someone calls the virtual sweatshop, which is this sort of this perpetual motion machine of meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, and figuring out ways in this particular part of the pandemic response where we can help people to recognize friction where it is,
mm,
to negotiate where they need to, and then to really pay attention to self-care along the way. And whatever they need, go ask for it. I need to take the rest of the day off because I have ABC, or I'm just exhausted and I'm not productive, or work this hour versus this hour. So those are all the kinds of things that we've done It